What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with the latest on your $600 second stimulus check update and your $2,000 third stimulus check update, as well as related news. We're going to jump right into it today. Lots to cover. Don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates. Okay, first up, the Biden administration is going to be taking a different approach to vaccines, as the Trump administration has been criticized for only 1% of the United States being vaccinated up until this point. And Biden and the Biden administration is going to be doing it differently. They plan to release all the vaccines that are currently available to the United States, available to Americans right away for their first shot, as opposed to the Trump administration, which was keeping vaccines back in basically to hold the second shot of vaccines for people. Remember, you have to take one shot and then 28 days later take a second shot currently with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. They are working on a one-shot vaccine, but basically what the Biden administration is saying they're going to do is they're going to administer all the vaccines they have, and then 28 days later, you may or may not have a dose for the next shot or the second dosage. So basically, these companies are going to have to get on their horse, as my father would say, and start pumping out millions and millions more vaccines so that hopefully 28 days later, you will be available to take a second shot and there will be enough for people. And remember, we have to do this with hundreds of millions of people. There's about 330 million people in the US. So 100 million doses is only about a third of the United States. And we're going to need 100 million doses for the first shot and 100 million doses for the second shot. And that's only for one third of the US. Let me know which strategy you think is better. Do you think they should reserve a second shot for people that have already taken their first, or should they just administer them all and hope for the best, hope that they get more, hundreds of millions more here within the next few weeks? On a side note, there has been preliminary studies done on taking just the first shot of the vaccine may provide up to 90% of effectiveness as taking two shots. So one shot may be almost as good, but definitely not as good as taking two of them. Oh, and by the way, you can still get the coronavirus if you take the vaccine. As we know, the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine is only up to 95% effective, which means there's still a 5% chance you can get it. And the vaccine is not perfect. I personally think about it more likened to the flu vaccine. If you take the flu vaccine like me, my wife, and my son do, we do get flu vaccines. We can go several years without getting the flu at all, but then one year you can get it. But typically, when you do get it, it'll be a much less worse case of it. You won't be stuck in bed for days and days with the flu, basically, just crying for help. When you do get it, it's more kind of like a cold than necessarily a severe case of it. This comes as cases of the virus are accelerating in the United States. Just yesterday, we had a new all-time high of deaths with over 4,100 people from the virus just yesterday alone. And that is more than Pearl Harbor and or 9/11 on any one specific day. And also the amount of cases are trending up again too. We had our second highest day of cases, almost the highest, with 280,000 new people just yesterday alone catching the virus for the first time and testing positive. Now, this comes as a second strain of the United States. A mutated version of it is in the United States in multiple different states. Last I checked, there was at least 5 states that already had cases in there. And there's also a third mutation out of Africa also. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. Dr. Fauci says that the pandemic will continue possibly till the end of 2021, which leaves the Biden administration to hold their promise that multiple stimulus checks and stimulus packages will be passed until the pandemic is over. The PPP portion, the Paycheck Protection Program, which you might be able to claim tens of thousands of dollars in US government grant money, which is basically almost the same thing as stimulus money, but actually more money, is going to start reopening on January 11th here. And basically, if you have any type of side hustle, a small business, you get 1099, you're a gig worker, side gig, you have a side hustle, you drive for Uber, you sell for Amazon, you sell for Etsy, any type of side gig, especially if you get 1099, you can qualify for this bucket of money, I call it. There's multiple sets of different buckets of money in the second stimulus package, and there will be more going forward, such as mortgage and rental assistance, which is not out yet, which I will be updating you guys on the future, PPP program, and all sorts of different buckets of money. The PPP program will start opening on January 11th. At first, it will become available to lower income communities and also smaller community banks, but that's only for the first 2 days, okay? 2 days later, it'll start opening up to more people, and from there on out, every few days. So basically, if you want to get the first set of PPP loans, you go to a local credit union or a smaller bank and talk with the banker there or call them up and say you want to apply for a PPP grant or for PPP forgivable loan. They'll walk you through all the guidance on how to apply. You'll have to sign papers with them and stuff. I have many, many viewers that got the first Paycheck Protection Program that actually got thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and it has a simplified forgiveness process, which basically means you're going to sign a one-page document saying that you used it for business purposes and for employee payroll, which you yourself count as the first employee. So if it's a side business with just you, you can use it to pay yourself, and the government's basically funding this. In addition to that, you get to write off your business expenses, which is like it's like double dipping. It's like the greatest thing ever. So, for example, if you got a $10,000 PPP loan, not only they're going to give you $10,000 for free, but when you use that $10,000 for business expenses, such as paying yourself a salary, you get to write off that $10,000 as a business expense, as basically $10,000 write off. So you get to double dip with the PPP loan, and that is pretty amazing. So if you have any type of side hustle, I recommend you call your local bank, even if it's a large national bank, call them up. It'll be available here within the next few days. Kind of get the ball rolling, and let me know if you have any thoughts or questions down below in the comments. And if you got your first loan, PPP loan, comment down below also so other viewers like you can kind of get some details on how it works and how it worked for you. The Joe Biden or Joe Biden and the Joe Biden administration, president elect. Am I allowed to say that now? Because every time I used to say that in the past, I would get yelled at by so many people. Listen, I got Republican friends and Democratic friends, but I think it's safe for me to call him president elect now. Don't be mad at me. I'm just reporting what's going on. Joe Biden has some information to say here about stimulus coming out going forward.
But as I said from the beginning, the need to make sure that relief and future relief reaches everyone who needs it, we need to do more. These relief dollars will start to flow quickly, potentially while the current administration is still in office. And they may send out money that they won't have any control over. But for what we have to need control over, I want to be very clear what my priorities are for distributing this emergency aid swiftly and equitably. Our focus will be on small businesses on Main Street that aren't wealthy and well-connected, that are facing real economic hardships through no fault of their own. Our priority will be Black, Latino, Asian, and Native American-owned small businesses, women-owned businesses, and finally, having equal access to resources needed to reopen and rebuild. But we're going to make a concerted effort to help small businesses in low-income communities, in big cities, small towns, rural communities that have faced systemic barriers to relief. Think of the mom and pop owner with a couple of employees who can't pick up the phone and call the banker, who doesn't have a lawyer, an accountant, to help them through this complicated process, to know if they're even qualified, or who simply didn't know where this relief was available in the first place. We went through this, Don, when we brought Detroit back off its knees. And as we saw in this morning's job report, restaurants, bars, and hospitality industry have been slammed by this virus. We're going to direct relief to those businesses and others that have been so badly hit hit the hardest. We owe them that support to help them get through the other side of this crisis.
So Joe Biden is already hinting there at the third stimulus package, which may include a third round of PPP. And Joe Biden has said in previous interviews that I've showed you guys also on this channel, stimulus checks and stimulus packages, as you know, and packages include everything. I mean, it includes the PPP, unemployment extensions, eviction moratoriums, mortgage and rental assistance, food assistance in there. I mean, money for schools, money for vaccines. Packages really have a lot of different quote buckets of money, PPP obviously being just one of them. We know that the $2,000 stimulus check that had already passed the US House of Representatives is and will be one of the first actions taken when Biden administration comes in. They're trying to push to get it done sooner, but Mitch McConnell would have to agree to that until he loses his power in the Senate. The good thing is going forward is that Mitch McConnell will no longer be able to delay or table bills such as the $2,000 stimulus check and the previous HEROES Act that passed the U.S. House of Representatives, but then Mitch McConnell didn't even put them to a vote. And with Mitch McConnell no longer being the Senate Majority Leader and being in charge of the Senate, that will now go to Chuck Schumer, who's the Senate Minority Leader and will become the Senate Majority Leader. They will no longer be able to delay these much needed stimulus packages and the $2,000 stimulus checks going forward. The question really kind of still remains is, will this $2,000 check actually be $1,400, which I call a plus up bill, which is the $600 stimulus check that you may or may not have already gotten, plus $1,400. By the way, I have a new video coming out in a few hours from now, if you're watching this as soon as this come out, at 11 p.m. tonight, where we will discuss who won't be getting stimulus checks for the second stimulus check and the third stimulus check, as well as the delays and problems. This will also pertain to the next stimulus check, the third stimulus check. So 11 p.m. tonight, you're going to want to make sure to just go on YouTube, type in It's Jimmy, and watch that video, because you likely won't get a notification if you have the bell icon on, because they only send notifications out for the first 3 videos of the day. So that will be at 11 p.m. Now, remember, Mitch McConnell has his own version of the $2,000 stimulus bill. I personally think he would be smart to stand up and say, hey, let's pass this bill. And he may have to take a few of his concessions out, but this way he would get a couple things added in there that he and Republicans want. And if he doesn't do that, and if he makes this drag out for the next few days until he is no longer majority leader, then the Senate will basically pass a $2,000 stimulus check with no concessions to him. They'll have to pass it in the House again, but it'll likely be the exact same bill or possibly a slight change to not give the $2,000 stimulus checks to the higher income earners that some Republicans didn't like. Remember that $2,000 bill that passed the House. One, it had Republican support. 44 Republicans from the House passed it, and 99% of Democrats. There's new talk that there's a Democratic senator that is going to be against the $2,000 stimulus checks, and that might provide a problem going forward. I don't think so at all, because again, that's just one vote. They had 99% of Democrats in the House pass it. If they get 99% of Democrats in the Senate to pass it, that's totally fine. Remember, we need 60 votes in the Senate to pass a bill, and the Democrats picked up 3 seats. So if one of them votes against it, they'll only need 11 votes now in the Senate instead of 13 before. They had enough votes to pass it before. There's always 1 or 2 Democrats that vote against any particular bill. So I really wouldn't worry. People are making that it's such a big deal about this. It's not a big deal. There's always some people that don't want to go with the crowd. And honestly, if push came to shove, they would vote with the Democrats. Remember, they need 60 votes in the Senate to pass a bill with the new Congress, and the Democrats control 50 of them. Okay, 51 with the tiebreaker, if needed, goes to Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Going forward, there's already enough support to pass the $2,000 stimulus checks in the Senate. Okay, it's just a formality of doing it and repassing it in the House and seeing if they change anything. Remember, that $2,000 bill that passed the House of Representatives was not only $2,000 for adults, but it was $2,000 for children also, and $2,000 for adult dependents. So $2,000 for adults, children, and dependents. But it was what I call a plus up bill. It was $2,000 in total, including the $600. So technically, if you got your $600 already, it's plus $1,400 for adults to make it $2,000, plus $1,400 for children to make it $2,000, and a full $2,000 for adult dependents because they likely got nothing on the first and the second stimulus checks. I will be having more details for you guys in this next video at 11 p.m. Eastern time tonight, which is 8 p.m. West Coast time. Make sure you're subscribed and tune in for our 11 p.m. video. I will keep you updated with more details. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video on this channel. And this bottom video is on the Daily Dirt, our second channel, where I just went over the articles of impeachment that the Democrats just brought up against President Donald Trump. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.